Hello and welcome to Pulse Social Podcast. This week we're talking about Jack Petchey Foundation. I've got with me here Gemma June, who's the Operations Director. Thank you for joining us, Gemma.
Pleasure, great to be here.
Great, and we've also got Rihanna Morrison-Kinnan, who's an alumni of Step Into Dance and a current member of Youth Consultancy Panel. Thank you, Rihanna, for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Great, so can you tell me a little about Jack Petchey Foundation?
Yeah, so the Jack Petchey Foundation was set up in 1999 by Sir Jack Petchey, so it's actually our 21st birthday this year. And over those 21 years, we've invested over £133 million in young people across London and Essex. And at the heart of our mission is really enabling young people from all walks of life to be the best they can be. So we're all about inspiring young people, motivating them to do great things and recognising them for all of their achievements. So we do that directly through our Achievement Awards programmes, which we're going to talk a little bit about today, and the grants that we give to schools and youth organisations across London and Essex.
Are they in a particular area you work towards with youth, for example, whether it be after school tutors, or is it, what kind of programs are they? Are they physical activity, after school clubs?
It's a huge range. So we really want to provide opportunities to every young person to find something that kind of gets that spark inside them. So our programs range from table tennis to dance. We have engineering, public speaking, we've got maths, we've got vlogging, we've got so many programs.
There's a variety, there's something for everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they're delivered through schools and youth organisations. We have got hundreds of sports clubs on our Achievement Awards scheme, but it's any organisation that works with young people in London or Essex can be part of our programmes.
Brilliant. So that could be someone's in South London, for example, they can contact you because they want to start, maybe a youth organisation wants to start, I don't know, a squash club or something like that. And they can get in touch with you and you can provide them resources to make that happen?
Absolutely. So any organisation where there are young people meeting regularly is eligible to join our Achievement Award scheme. And it's a really simple application process. They just go to our website, fill in a form. We get back to them with very light touch as a grant maker, because we just want to make sure young people have those opportunities.
I think it's great because young people are the ones, if you get them early, especially in things like extracurriculars, they really do stick with them and the benefits are lifelong.
Absolutely. And those habits that young people start early and stay with them for life, don't they? So yeah, we recognise that for sure.
And then obviously, you work through schools and through different boroughs in London and Essex, but certain areas and boroughs tend to be more deprived than others. How do you find, working in a deprived area or a deprived community, how is it things different there? Are there any steps that Jack Petchey takes to be more inclusive and to maybe, get people from BAME background, for example, aren't as necessarily into sports as people from a more privileged upbringing? Yeah,
so inclusivity, it has to be said, is absolutely at the heart of what we do. So we operate in almost every state school in London, Essex. We're also active in the pupil referral units for young people who can't attend mainstream schools and in special schools. So by definition, we are working with a very diverse group of young people. So anyone who attends a state school or a youth organisation in London or Essex, it can be part of our programmes. And so those programmes are as vibrant and as diverse as those communities that we work in. But it should be said, a really important principle for Sir Jack, who set up the foundation, was that he didn't want our programmes to be targeted, because he grew up in a very poor household in the East End of London and felt that he was always targeted as the poor boy. So
it's very easy to fall into that trap. It's almost like a propaganda where you become the poster boy or the poster girl.
Yes, so we don't restrict our programmes according to economic means. They're open, they're accessed by everybody, but we do make sure that you don't have to have resources to be able to participate. So some of our most popular sporting programs, for example, you don't need expensive kit to get involved. You can be part of it regardless of your family circumstances. And we're, you know, the programs are incredibly vibrant across London. We started in East London, so that's where we have our strongest base, I suppose. But the programs are across the capital and across Essex as well.
I think London itself is very diverse anyway, so regardless of where you are based, you will end up getting students from all sorts of life.
Absolutely, and we don't use the language of disadvantage, because we recognise that young people are incredible and have so much to offer us. We do have a few programs where we're making particular efforts to make sure that everybody is actually accessing them. So, for example, we have a program that we run in partnership with Penathlon, and that's about competitive sporting opportunities for disabled young people, because so often we were told by those young people that they were never picked for the teams, they weren't ever encouraged to take part in competitions. So that program, Penathlon, we've worked with, I think, over 33,000 young people since we started our partnership with them, making sure that they are involved in competitive sporting opportunities, and it really has a fantastic impact on their self-confidence. And you know, just because you're a disabled young person doesn't mean you're not competitive, as we've really seen through that program. Yeah, it's a great one.
I think sports is something that can unite anyone from all walks of life, and even different communities and everything. It brings you together and turns you into one sporting community. I suppose that would be a right way to say it. Yeah,
absolutely. Table tennis program, so we provide tables, outdoor and indoor table tennis tables for schools and for youth organisations, and that's a sport where you don't have to have the money to buy kit, but if you're passionate about it, which so many young people are, you can, you know, go into school early and play.
And young people naturally tend to become very competitive. You know, you don't even need to encourage that. There's something in them that just immediately they want to challenge their friends.
Yeah, we do see that a lot. With table tennis, we did find that girls were not playing as much as boys, so we actually put in place a specific program for girls, for coaching for girls, to make sure that they were making the most of the opportunity as boys were, and that's seen great results as well. But
I mean, it's great that you took the initiative. You know, you noticed, okay, girls aren't participating, how can we tackle that, and you took the steps forward to make that happen. Nationally, girls participate in sports less than boys, and when I say girls, I'm putting women, like all female, really into that category as well. Do you think, has Jack Petchey kind of considered how important representation is? And, you know, when you're giving these resources, do girls see role models in those centres, in those schools that look like themselves, for example, that can, you know, give those girls that confidence to achieve their goals?
Yeah, I mean, representation is incredibly important, and we are conscious of it. Luckily, we don't have to work hard to find images of people who look like the young people we're working with, because they are all involved in our program. So I think if you have a look at our social media or our website, it's
I did take a look at your blog. Each week you had articles going on about how to cope with COVID and different sports, and it was so diverse because you had different people from all walks of life going through this experience together and sharing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think in London, if you're working with young people in London, you have to work quite hard not to be diverse in terms of who you're reaching. So, it's absolutely fabulous.
Rihanna, you were a part of a program from Jack Petchey, which was Step Into Dance. How were you introduced to it, and why did you keep going with it? Can you tell me a little about that?
So with the Step Into Dance programme, or dancing in general, I've always been interested in dancing. It's very, I'm quite passionate about it. I started dancing when I was about 6, and that was due to personal reasons, actually. My dad passed away when I was 7, and I went mute. I stopped talking to people. My literacy grades went down. I had absolutely no way of expressing myself, and my mum found that dance actually worked for me. So she just tried to get me into as many dance classes as possible. So by the time I got to secondary school, I got to about year 9, so I was 13 going on 14. The Step Into Dance programme was introduced into our school, and I just grabbed the first chance I could at it. I was so excited that there was something going on to do with dance in the school. It was the first time dance was promoted in a positive way in our school, so I was all for it. And what I really enjoyed about that programme was the fact that it was kind of a replication of what it's like to be a professional dancer, which is also something I was kind of interested in at the time. So that was really great for me, and I loved it so much. I did the programme 3 times. I did it twice as a participant, and I did it once as someone running the scheme in school.
It kind of brought you out of your shell after that tragedy. I didn't even realise, it's that's such a good point. It's such an expressive way to say something with just your body. We forget to think about dance as a physical activity, as a sport. It's just seeing something people do as fun, but it really does relaxes our body. We end up smiling, having a good time. So the positive impact of it, there's numerous, and I'm so glad your school and Jack Petchey took that initiative and brought that to you. How was it different, setting it up? What did you end up learning more about the program, about the planning and thinking and the goals behind it?
I definitely learned a lot more. So by the time I started running it, I actually ran it because the teacher who'd carried me through the programme twice was on maternity leave at the time, and she didn't trust any of the other staff to carry out the programme for her. So she asked me to come back to school and run it for her. So I did. And what was really interesting is actually working from the school end of things to implement the programme, not just the Jack Petchey side. I felt like I was in the middle because I'd done so much with Jack Petchey, apart from the Step Into Dance programme, but I was also kind of in school teacher mode, if you like. So what I really enjoyed was watching the children flourish from that programme. We had so many children who were from very difficult backgrounds, had difficult things going on at home. A lot of the children were they were all between the ages of 11 and 16. And what we changed about that programme was that we decided to open up as auditions, so kind of make it more open to the whole of the school, whereas when I was doing the programme, it was kind of targeted at a particular year group. And the children were from all sorts of households where a lot of them were kind of the oldest out of their siblings, and they had a lot of responsibility at home to look after their siblings, pick them up from primary school. So they didn't have much of a childhood, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that was kind of their time to express themselves and look after their physical and mental health, and just be children and enjoy being a child at school, getting involved in extracurricular activities.
I feel like you definitely went from a student to a teacher here, and then the confidence you must have gained through that to allow yourself to do it, that must have been a massive boost as well.
Yeah, it definitely was. But I think, luckily enough, I had a good support system around me, and so the children really, they took to me quite well, so that made it a lot easier for me. But it was just great to see them working with what were professional dance teachers, which were from the Royal Academy of Dance, which is the partner for this programme. That was amazing because I did do dance a lot outside of school, semi-professionally, and to see the children who wouldn't have otherwise had that chance to work with professional teachers who have had their dance careers. They've worked in theatre, they've worked in film, and now they're working with these children from a school in South East London. It was just absolutely amazing. They took so much out of it, and then getting the chance to perform at such prestigious venues such as Sadler's Wells, which is definitely the hub of dance in London, and the Royal Festival Hall in South Bank. It was very rewarding, and to watch them kind of really put their all into working towards something that's quite valuable, and they'll take that memory of them for life now. So yeah, it was definitely an amazing experience.
You mentioning the Royal Academy, you brought in professionals, you're making sure the kids get the best possible teachers that they can.
Yes, so that's part of the programme really. So Jack Petchey worked with the Royal Academy of Dance to bring those teachers in, and that's how they get through that. And they take you all the way through. They work with you for a year. They train the students. They prepare them for auditions, which is also part of the programme. They prepare them for performances, and we are able to work with and kind of share what work we've been doing with other schools in the borough. So it's a really good way to connect with other schools, which doesn't happen a lot.
Schools often have rivalry with each other as well, so
yeah,
this is a good way to get rid of that, maybe.
Definitely. Halfway through the year, we have our what we call a spring sharing event. So that's when all the schools in each borough come together and they share what they've been working on throughout the year. And it's in no way a competitive experience. It's more of it's in the name, really. It's sharing. So it's kind of seeing what you've done and seeing what you've done. And it's really great. Another thing I like about the programme is the fact that it's really important to recognise there's so many different styles of dance. It's almost like recognising there's so many different genres of movies you could watch. And by working with the school closely, the programme aims to provide a very specific kind of teacher that works with the students well. So if you're interested in street dance, they'll send a street dance teacher. If you're interested in a contemporary routine, they'll send a contemporary dance
do the students
teacher
choose, or the teachers?
I think it's very much down to what the school wants. So when I was running the programme, I put it down to the students. I asked them what they were interested in. When they came onto the team, I made it very clear that they needed to be open to different styles of dance to get that experience. But ultimately, they did get to choose what kind of style they wanted to prepare their performance piece on, and they chose street dance in the end. So we ended up with a street dance teacher who was amazing. Really highly recommended by the Royal Academy of Dance, and they were just wonderful. And then with that, what they also did was they invited 2 of our students along to audition for the Royal Academy of Dance main programme. So alongside that, they will kind of invite you to choose 2 students up from your school and send them for this audition. So not only did the students as a whole get a chance to kind of get a taste of dancing professionally and working with those kind of people in the industry, 2 of those people had the opportunity to take that a step further, which was really good for those people who especially were looking to kind of carry this on more long term and were interested in, kind of moving up the ladder a little bit in terms of the industry.
Did you carry on with dance after leaving Step Into Dance?
Yes, so outside of school, it's kind of happening simultaneously, if you like. I was attending a theatre school, so I trained in singing, drama and dance myself, and I took lots of professional dance exams. I was in a few pantomimes at the time, so this is up to when I was about 18, and now I'm at university and I'm part of quite a large dance society at the university, and we compete every year around the country against other universities. So I've always continued it in my own way where I can, amongst my other interests.
I think it goes back to what Gemma and I were saying earlier, where if kids start something young, if they become part of a program young, because kids who do sport do better in life as adults, and all of these benefits, I can see that you've taken that on as a child and they're carrying with you right now at university as well. And I think a great achievement for Jack Petchey as well. And this is just one of the programs from your Achievement Award scheme.
Yeah, so this is one of our partnership programs. Yeah, I just wanted to add, if I may, that it's also an inclusive dance program. So you have lots of young people with disabilities who are also part of the program, so they have the opportunity to express themselves through dance. And when you see the spring sharings, I think it's fabulous for able-bodied young people to see how brilliant the disabled young dancers are as well. And at the big showcases at the end of the year, it's a very inclusive and uplifting celebration of dance in all its forms. It's really something
it
quite
sounds
magical
fantastic
to see.
And I honestly wish I was like, oh my god, I want to be a part of this. Like, let me go young. That's how you guys, I'm sold. And you weren't even selling, but I'm sold. In terms of these shows, so it's all community based when they all come together, am I right in thinking? So is it schools just in your borough, or is it like all across London, every school in Jack Petchey Foundation comes together? How does that work?
Are you talking about the Step Into Dance shows or just the general?
I think maybe more in general, but step into dance as well.
Yeah, sure. So with Step into Dance, and I think it works similarly with the Achievement Award scheme, we start off with the spring sharings, and for the Achievement Award scheme, that's kind of like the borough awards. So in those instances, we do come together as a borough. So all schools who are involved in the programme in the same borough as you will come together and share the performances that you've been working on. After that, each school has the chance to audition for a place in the final end of year show, and that's chosen by mainly by the Royal Academy of Dance. They kind of have their panel there and choose which schools get to perform. It's usually only a certain amount of slots, and then they'll perform at the end of the year, and that'll be schools from all over London and Essex who are involved in the programme.
I mean, I think the process itself is fantastic because it kind of prepares dancers want to carry on it professionally with how these auditions work, how to prepare for them. And also, I imagine you end up making a lot of friends through this as well, because there's people you might not necessarily have known because they're not in your school otherwise. But through the Step into Dance, you end up meeting them and then you have a common interest, really.
Yes, absolutely.
And how does it work, Gemma, with the Achievement Award scheme?
So the Achievement Awards, the 14,000 young people a year, they're awarded £250 and they get to choose how to spend that money to benefit their school or their youth organisation or their sports club. So they get to have the feeling of giving something back to other people in the community around them. And then each of those young people who wins an award, they're invited to a big flashy event. As Rihanna said, it's on a borough by borough basis for the schools. They come together, those young people go up on stage, they're presented with a medallion, their achievement is read out in front of an audience of friends, family and VIPs, and they get to shake hands with perhaps the local mayor or a local MP.
I can't imagine the impact that moment has on a young person.
I mean, people tell us that it can be transformative, and for many young people it's the first time that they realise there's something special about them, and that, you know, they really have achieved something. And we're not talking academic achievements, it could be achieving something against the odds, or it could be, you know, being a really dedicated volunteer in your local cricket group, or you know, being the person who always helps out at your youth organisation, and they really go out, you know, walking tall and just feeling so proud of themselves. And those events, obviously they haven't been able to happen with the current situation, but can't wait for them to happen again. But there's lots of music, there's whooping, cheering, and really they're a sort of bundle of energy. They're great things to be involved with.
Definitely a great atmosphere, those awards evenings. I've been to 2 of them. I've won 2 achievement awards as well, and yeah, there is something about shaking the mayor's hand in your local borough you would have never met otherwise. It's really great.
You feel validated. You realize what I did was great, because sometimes it takes somebody else acknowledging your achievement for you to realize there's so much more I can do and I have so much potential inside me. So I loved the ceremony, and I'm so sorry that it's not been able to happen due to this COVID pandemic that we're living through right now.
We'll get back to it.
Yeah, it's not great right now. It's not so great. How has the program been affected due to COVID? Because a lot of physical activities have been shut down for so many months. So, and I know a lot of organisations were doing things online. Was there something like that happening with the foundation?
Yeah, so I mean, we know that so many young people have been really severely affected by COVID, and you know, too many have suffered bereavement as well. One of our sporting clubs in East London had 6 of their young members who lost a close family member. So the impact on young people has been immense, and even those who haven't been directly affected, you know, so many struggled to stay active, so many struggled to be mentally and physically healthy. And in fact, in July and August, we did a survey and had 6,000 young people who replied to it to find out how the lockdown had affected them. And 37% said they were doing less physical exercise during the lockdown. 45% said they were spending less time outside than normal, and they were giving the feedback loud and clear that they just really wanted the connection that their extracurricular activities had given them the opportunity for before. So our immediate response was we were supporting some of our programs to deliver digitally, and making sure that young people could continue to access some of those programs. But we also introduced a new program called the Jack Petchey Community Awards. So that was to recognise young people who were going above and beyond to help their local community. So we had over 500 nominations during lockdown of young people who had been doing incredible things.
It has really shown the resilience, I think, especially among the youth, where often they've stepped up and looked after their community or their families or their relatives when they themselves, might be suffering as well, but they realize we're the ones that maybe the adults or the grandma or the grandpa have to count on.
I mean, you're absolutely right. And seeing all those nominations, how many young people just thought, I can volunteer, so I'm going to volunteer. So whether, as you say, it was helping out for family, friends and neighbours, whether it was volunteering at a food bank, whether it was inspiring other young people through motivational things on social media. I mean, it was just amazing. One of my favourites was a young person who thought that all the cleaners in the local hospital weren't getting the recognition they deserved, and she made cards for them all and delivered them to thank them for everything they were doing to keep the hospital going. And I just think, how thoughtful is that to just think about others in such a brilliant way. So,
and absolutely, it's very easy to overlook, because we just think in hospitals, we just think, okay, the doctors and nurses, and of course we're so grateful and we thank them, but we forget what it takes to run a hospital actually, and there's so many people involved.
Absolutely, yeah, it was really incredible. And then so many young people who were helping look after their younger siblings so that their parents could go to work, on the front line as key workers. It was just, I think, very energizing to know how brilliantly young people who were able to did respond in really difficult circumstances. The other thing we did is because it's our 21st birthday, we gave out birthday grants to organisations for activities over the summer. And for example, there was a community centre in Kentish Town that used the grant to take its young people trampolining and to play foot golf, which was brilliant. And a cricket club in Harrow used the funds to organise a celebratory barbecue with their members, just to give young people a lift after a hugely difficult time. So we did continue to really make efforts to recognise young people and give them opportunities, and thank them for their determination and everything they've been doing.
I mean, it's great, especially considering this is not in any terms what we would call a normal summer, This is normally, I imagine, if you go on holiday, or even if you have summer camps or some form of that through your local youth organisation. So it's just getting that tiny part of your summer holiday to yourself.
Yeah, and knowing someone else has noticed and is noticing you and cares and values you we think that makes a difference.
Absolutely. Regulations are slightly less restrictive right now, and obviously it very much depends on how things carry on going forward with the pandemic. But we are trying to reach some level of normalcy. And what is the plan for the foundation and all its schools and awards going forward? How would you keep on running amid COVID or the chance of COVID coming back? Is there a plan in place?
Yeah, so we have got a plan, and the plan is that we are supporting youth groups to provide as many opportunities for young people as they can safely. So we're continuing to run the achievement awards. We're going to do our celebration events digitally where we need to. Some schools are able to invite us in for socially distanced small gatherings, so on a much smaller scale. We are also providing behind the scenes support for groups. So the idea being that we want them to be as efficient and effective as possible so that they can bounce back to resume full activities as soon as they're able to. So for example, we're running workshops for organisations so they can understand how they can use digital technologies best.
Yeah.
We know that organisations such as Step Into Dance, that program's starting in schools where the schools are able to invite them in. So really it's on a case-by-case basis that as organisations are able to provide opportunities safely, then we're absolutely ready to support them to do that.
And I think that makes perfect sense, because you have to look into, okay, which program it is, how does social distance work around this program, and what area that is in. So all of these considerations, it's a case-by-case scenario then.
Yeah, and you have to go with what organisations, you have to meet organisations where they are. They know best what's right for the young people they work with. So we're just here to support them with that. And in the meantime, to, continue to report on all the positive things that are going on. So our social media feeds are still full, and we've got a series of incredible case studies where we revisit people who've won achievement awards in the past and report on what they're doing now, which is amazing. And then also just trying to take the positive things that we can from our lockdown experience and build on those. So young people volunteering and supporting others, people having more time for family, just really trying to keep and hold on to some of those things that young people through our survey told us they really wanted to hold on to.
So maybe look at even your mental health, and just takes a half an hour out of the day just to relax, do what you want to do.
Important, yeah.
Absolutely. This is great. I'm loving what the foundation does, how it supports all these programs. Rihanna, Step Into Dance honestly sounds great. I want to do all these classes. I missed out.
Oh no, it's brilliant. Yeah, it's amazing. But so are all the other programs that Jack Petchey runs. There's just so many. There's something for everyone. So there's no way you can't get involved as a young person.
And I think so too, especially because what Gemma, you were saying, you're all across London in every borough in so many different schools. So the list of programs, like I don't want to go into numbers, but imagining it's a very, very long list. Has it grown actually during COVID? Have more people applied for the membership perhaps to contact you just because they're finding it difficult to cope on their own?
So we've really increased our direct contact with young people. So the web resources that we've provided and the community awards, I think we've found that where we're delivering in partnership with schools and youth organisations, they've really been struggling to just deliver business as usual. So, it's been really a challenge for them to look up and out and see what new they can do. So I would say that's been more a case of continuing to support our existing partners. Having said that, we're always open to any organisation that supports young people that wants to join the Achievement Award schemes. I mean, the more young people we can recognise, the better.
Yeah.
And as a foundation, we are absolutely ready to bounce back and do things bigger and better as soon as we're able to, in terms of our events and the scale of what we do. And until then, we're just supporting all those incredible partners that we work with.
I'm really impressed with what the foundation has done, and actually the size and the scope of it itself is fantastic. And you're reaching so many youths, and the goal is, again, like you said, to keep reaching more and more out there. I'm so glad, Rihanna, that you were able to express yourself through it and actually advance your personal growth through it, and even as an adult that you're keeping it going. That's the thing that I think all youth organizations want their participants to keep going forward with it, is that they can benefit with it throughout their life.
Yeah, and Rihanna's still giving back to the foundation, so she's a really important part of the foundation through her role on what we call the youth consultation panel. Rihanna, I don't know if you want to just say a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the youth consultancy panel, we've been running for about a year now, and really we're kind of bridging ourselves between the board of trustees at the foundation and young people, and it's something that the foundation have decided to take on as part of their growth, in how they approach young people, in how they deliver new programs. So what they want to do more of is hear from young people about what they want and how to deliver it in a way that engages us. So that's how that came about, but it's been brilliant. We've been part of kind of refining the surveys that we've been putting out, especially ones regarding COVID. We've run some digital events where we spoke about wellbeing and education and employment opportunities. So it's been really great, and we work quite closely with the board and members of staff like Gemma. So it's been amazing.
Rihanna's done so much to make sure that the foundation is relevant and is amplifying young people's voices and really responding to what young people want and need. And you know, she's inputted in so many ways to the foundation along with the other members of the panel, but even things like helping make sure that we recruit well and helping make sure we make grants well. It's really added a huge amount of value to the foundation.
And at the end of the day, it's all about giving young people a voice in what they're doing and what's happening to them and what they're participating in. And Rihanna, you doing that is fantastic. And actually that brings me to a point. I'm sure you're aware of Black Lives Matter and how the movement has grown in recent times, especially since George Floyd's death. I feel like young people today are a lot more aware of what's going on in society around them. Has that affected the young people that you deal with, Rihanna, or you, Gemma?
I mean, I think without a doubt it's affected young people, particularly young people of colour, but all young people. And we have a great programme called the Jack Petchey Speak Out Challenge, where young people are given public speaking training and then speak out on the issues that are important to them. And certainly we've seen a huge increase in the number of young people talking about race, about racism, and about the difference that they want to see in the world. Also, we have a programme called the Vlogstar Challenge, where we train young people in the art of vlogging, and we've actually just judged the semi-finals of that. And again, lots of young people really want their voices to be heard and want to have a dramatic change in the way that society operates. So, you know, we're here to amplify young people's voices. I think as a positive foundation, we are really interested in the change that needs to happen to make society a better place for young people, to make sure that we don't have racism within our society. So, you know, we're supporting young people to use their voices and to really speak out.
I think it's all about providing them a platform, which what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, to be honest, young people in London are incredible, and they're incredibly articulate and incredibly knowledgeable. And I think when you're talking about race and racism in London, you just have the most incredible conversations with young people that are situated in reality and in, you know, the possibilities for the future. So I think we need to spread some of that to the rest of the country and really learn from what our youth in London are saying and doing.
Great message.
Yeah, I think what's so great about the foundation is the fact that they've not had to do much adapting to address this issue, because as we can already see, like, there's always a platform for young people to voice their opinion about whatever it is they want to voice their opinion about. I guess with the rest of the world, just from what I can see as a young person and as a Black female and being around other young people, I think all I can say right now as a person of colour, like, it's just such a painful time. It's got to the point now where people just can't even put into words what's going on. I can't comprehend why somebody would want to justify putting your knee on somebody's neck for as long as you did, or even at all, to be honest. So there's a lot of confusion, but I really appreciate how people who aren't necessarily affected by the movement personally are willing to listen. There's definitely more of that this time. It's a shame it's taken this much for people to react, but there's so many people who are speaking up. We're seeing it with celebrities, we're seeing it with even just everyday people. Something I did around, well, I think it's almost 2 months ago now. I wrote a piece on being a black dancer, and what I put in that was just basic everyday experiences that I've had going to dance class or being part of a performance, and how I was treated differently. And there's such subtle different little things that I think I felt good just using my platform to educate people. And I think I felt that confidence because I know I've always felt confident speaking on issues or making myself heard within the foundation, and that gave me a confidence to put it on my own social media and say, look, this is what is going on in my life and this is what I'm feeling, thinking. And I brought up really simple issues such as things like hair, which end up being a massive deal, and things like getting a tan, and how 1 minute you want to, you know, you want to be darker, and next minute you don't want to include me in your circle because I'm dark. So
I actually recently read this company started making ballerina shoes, and obviously before they're designed to be, the skin color is white, that's how they were made, and obviously if a dancer of color wore them, she would be standing out. And only in the last year ballerina shoes have been made for dancers of color. Yeah,
that's been a massive deal recently. And it's things like that where you think, gosh, like have we not done that already?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another issue I spoke about, and similar to the shoes, is as simple as flesh coloured tights. It's such a common item that you need to have in your bag as a dancer all the time, and it's something I always have a problem with because I can never find any. So just little things like that, and getting society to realise we're talking about the big flamboyant acts that you see on the TV. We have to address the fact that it's not just in other parts of the world, it's here in the UK. And what's so bad about it being in the UK is that it's so subtle that sometimes you can't even point it out. I was just
going to say that it's a very different, because you know we could go on and on about what's happening in America, but I think that would divert from what we want to discuss here. But even like what you're saying in the UK, it's much more subtle, and it's sometimes can be really subconsciously, people don't realize they have these ideas, and then they act.
There's a lot of subconscious. There is a lot of subconscious, and I think that it's really important to address that, because it becomes a kind of almost innate behaviour, and it shouldn't be. And it's something that we just have to keep talking about and making people aware of. Some people don't realise until someone kind of makes it obvious and in their face.
It's easy to forget, but until like the 70s and the 80s, people of colour were still struggling to be treated equally by the police in this country as well. It's not that long ago, people have grandparents who've gone through that time. But what's great about it is, again, we have organisations like Jack Petchey that are taking this forward, and that young people who are a member of these organisations, like yourself, Rihanna, who are very aware and actually feel confident to speak about these issues.
Yeah, and we do everything we can to give young people the platform so that they can have those voices heard. So the Jack Petchey Speak Out Challenge, for every regional final, which is on a borough basis, you have the first, second and third placed young people, and those speeches are put out on YouTube and we retweet them, and so often they're about what the current problems are in society, including racism, but also what we all can do to get to a better place, and how we all have a role in making things better. So that sort of call to action for the Jack Petchey is really important, to make sure that we don't just identify the problems, we all identify what we can do to try and address those problems and make things better. So I think that's, in line with our focus on positivity. It's not about pretending problems don't exist, but it's about everybody understanding what our roles are in moving forward.
Yeah, and like you were saying, Gemma, and from your experience, Rihanna, as well, that youth are very much now aware of what's happening around them. They feel like they want to talk about it, they want to address it, and we have to just let them take that banner forward. We have to give them the space to go ahead and do it. And Jack Petchey is doing a great job by providing the youths of London and Essex and going forward with those tools, because I feel like you've got the potential, and each and every child has that potential to say what they can. And whether that's even in this, I feel like even in any issue, if you have the confidence to speak up on this, you can say anything you need to them. And
absolutely, and then if you speak up and you speak well, then people listen.
Yeah.
So yeah, we want to make sure that happens, that young people know how to frame their arguments and know how to make people take notice and listen.
Oh, that's great. I just want to thank you both today for talking to me about the foundation. I ended up learning a lot, and I really did love what I got to hear about the foundation. Kind of makes me want to be younger again and get to try some of these things, because this sounds so good. So thank you, Gemma, for joining me today and educating me about the Jack Petchey Foundation and what it does. And thank you, Rihanna, as well, just for giving me your experience as a student and now as a member of the foundation yourself in consultancy. So I think that's great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Aniqa. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you for having us. It was great talking to you.